I sacrificed my dreams for survival, and this left me with deep-rooted feelings of resentment, regret, anger, bitterness, and even a little bit of jealousy, leaving me oftentimes feeling like, what if I would have started sooner, or what if things would have went this way? And then ultimately those what ifs started to make me sick, mentally and physically. So today I want to talk about my journey and also some things that I've learned along the way and things that I'm going to be changing in the new year, so that I can truly live the life that I deserve and the life that I desire. And hopefully it inspires you to do the same. Hey there, loved ones. This is Fully Loving Yourself, and my name is Sonia Star J. If you are new here, welcome. And if you are returning, welcome back. So lately I've been having a lot of self-reflections. It's the end of the year. We're winding down. We're turning in, right? And I'm also in therapy. And while being in therapy, it's causing me to really dig deep and reflect on a lot of things that I've been through and things that I'm currently going through. And most recently, I started to really think about whether or not I was happy and where that unhappiness stems from and where that feeling of being unfulfilled stemmed from. Being unfulfilled in my career or being unfulfilled just in life and what I needed in order to feel fulfilled. And so in doing that, I started doing like a lot of journaling prompts, and I recently did a movie review on Wicked. And when I went to go see Wicked, I was so inspired. In that review that I posted on here, I actually said that I have a new life goal. My new life goal is to be a background dancer in a musical. And I was like, not joking. Like, I was so serious about doing that. I actually did start looking into dance classes after seeing that, and I realized that I've been uninspired, and that's where the unfulfillment has been stemming from. So today I want to kind of talk about my backstory and my journey, how I've been feeling, what I'm going to be doing in the new year to kind of turn these feelings around, and some things that maybe you could do if you have been feeling the same way. I know that a lot of us are in this, space of reflection and what are we going to do in the new year? How's the new year going to be, great for us? How are we going to make the new year a better year? So that's just the space that I've been in lately. So if this is your vibe, if you like these cozy conversations like this, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on your bell notifications so that you never miss a video, okay? I'm trying to get everything set up and situated for the video podcast. So if you're watching on YouTube, let me know how the sound is. Let me know if the visuals are working, okay? Because your girl is trying to do all the things. All right. So just let me know in the comments. I would love to hear from y'all. So I recognize and realize that I have not really gone deep on here with y'all. Okay. Like, I've given y'all bits and pieces of my story and my background and my journey, but never really gave y'all like a full deep story time. Okay. So today I kind of want to get into it. And as we continue on the podcast and the platform, you'll begin to learn more just about like the life lessons that I've learned over time. And I'll also share lessons as I'm learning them in real time too. And I've been kind of doing that on the channel already, and it hasn't translated well. So I'm hoping that with this new setup that it will translate better. So, like I said, I went to go see Wicked, and I was just like completely inspired. I'm like, I I should have been in that movie. And my husband was like, you know what? Hell yeah, you should have been in that movie. And very like inspiring and encouraging. And I'm also really inspired by my husband too. And this is something that also made me start thinking about like what makes me happy and what makes me feel fulfilled, because my husband does music and he is so passionate about doing music. Like that's just his thing. That's what he wants to do. That's what he's good at. It's what makes him fulfilled. And I started feeling like, not, maybe it was a little bit of jealousy, because I'm like, I don't have that. Like I don't have a thing that I do that just gets me going, that I'm just looking forward to every single day. Like I love like my home and my marriage. Like I love those aspects of my life. But in my own personal individual journey, I just didn't have something that I was just like, man, I can't wait to get off of work and go do this. Or, you know, I've been picking up different hobbies like painting and coloring and all these things. But I'm like, what is it that really is it for me? So I started to think about all of the things that I miss doing. I've always been a very creative person, but I've been so disconnected from that creativity. And I've tried to get back to it this year after learning about like lack of creativity and its connection to fibroid development and fibroid healing. But I still haven't really made that connect until I went to go see Wicked. Because I've always been a dancer, y'all. Like, I remember when I was a child, a teenager, a preteen, when I was like 12, 13 years old, whenever You Got Served came out, okay, my mom had got me a stereo and she got me the You Got Served soundtrack. And I will never forget staying up until everybody was asleep and going down in the kitchen with my stereo, putting the You Got Served soundtrack into the stereo and playing it, moving all the kitchen furniture out the way. And I tried to be the You Got Served background dancer. Like I just knew that I was going to be able to spin on my head and do all of those pop locking, drop in moves. Like I just knew that that was my calling. I loved to dance, but I also love to draw. And I'm also a writer. So I danced throughout high school and I danced throughout college and I loved it. I started writing also when I was 12. My mom was also a writer as well. My dad also is a writer too. So that comes naturally. And that was my way of self-expression. When I couldn't figure out how to communicate my emotions, I wrote about them, and I wrote poetry, and I wrote poetry books starting very young. I remember I was like maybe 12. I had written a full book of poetry by the age of 12 because a boy stole it. A boy that I was dating or talking to stole my poetry book like twice. I don't even know how I let that happen, but yeah, he stole my poetry book twice, and I just kept writing because that was how I felt. That's how I released. That's how I seen. I see the world and I see feelings in stories, beautiful, just rhymes. Like I love it. I even tried writing songs and raps and stuff that didn't go well, but I've always loved doing things like that. And I used to hole away and read books that I probably had no business reading until my mom realized that I had this knack of reading books. And so she started buying me my own big, thick Harry Potter books that I would steal away and be reading for days. And I realized that I lost that little girl. I lost that piece of me that loved to create, and I lost it to life. I lost it to having to survive along the way. And I know that that is so many other people's stories. that so many other women's stories, they have to forgo what they love and who they are at the core of themselves in order to make shit shake, in order to make sure that there's food in the house, make sure that, the house is running, make sure that, everybody else is taken care of and we are on the back burners. And so that's why I really was trying to pour into myself this year. But life. And it's not for the sake of not having time, because I could have created the time, but just being programmed to survive. How do I make this work? But in seeing my husband come and take the time to pour into his craft, like he's dedicated to it. And I'm like, oh, I could do that. Like I 100% can go to the dance studio. I can 100% while he's doing his music, I could sit here and write. I could, pour into all of these things. Where did that change for me? And so I started to think about it, and I processed it in therapy and just in journaling too. It started in college. So when I was 14, I went into foster care. My mom passed away when I was 14 from cervical cancer, and my dad was incarcerated until I was 21. And so at that point in time, my brothers and I went to go live with my grandma, and I became their protector. I had to protect them. I had to take care of them. We're in this new environment. We know these people, but we know these people. It's a new, different living environment. We just lost our mother, like all of these stressful things. And that is when I wrote the most, I believe. And I didn't dance a lot. I danced when I got to the second school, because I got kicked out of my first school, y'all. So when I went to the school that I actually graduated high school from, they poured into us so much. Like, I used to cry when I had to go home from school because I loved it so much, because I had the opportunity to be myself. I had the opportunity to make friends and build community. I was in a choir. I was on a dance team. I was performing. Like, I performed on big stages, dancing. Every morning, well, not every morning, but a lot of mornings before church, because we had church in the morning at school, I would recite poetry, and I loved it. I loved performing. And as I gotten older, as I became an adult, I kind of shied away from that. I kind of sunk into the background, like invisible. Like, girl, who are you? Where is that girl who used to command the stage in the front? Give me the roles. Let me do everything. Where did she go? And I really needed to explore that. I really needed to find where she went. I really needed to figure that out, because, girl, what's going on? We got things to do, So when I graduated from high school, I wanted to go to school for dance. And this was so funny to me. I posted about this on Facebook the other day, about how my family missed the mark with me, because I was always so talented. I was so creative. And somehow I went to school for sociology and psychology, because they had convinced me that I would make a great therapist. I would make a great counselor. And I'm like, I also would have made a great writer, dancer. I could have seen me being a struggling girl in New York, broke as hell, going to auditions. But they had the foresight to see that you actually don't want that life, And I'm grateful for that. But also, it left me feeling very resentful, because I had to give up my dreams to do, to have a career. And my husband, the other day when I said this to my husband, he was like, you don't have to give up your dreams. You can still pursue your dreams. Like, you can still pursue your dreams. But when I was in high school, they were like, yeah, you're going to college. And I'm like, college? Who wants to go to college? I don't want to go to college. And they were like, yeah, you're going to college. So I had applied to I don't know how many schools I applied to, but I got accepted into 8 of them. And my goal was to go to Towson University for dance. And I got in, and I was so excited. But my dad was incarcerated at that time, and he didn't want me to leave the state. And I was at that time in Pittsburgh, PA. And I was just like, what do you mean you don't want me to leave the state? He was like, I don't want you to leave the state, because I still want you to be able to come on visits and da-da-da-da. And so I was like, okay. And I did as he wanted, and I looked for schools that were in the States. And I remember seeing this dance team from my college, my alma mater, perform. And I was like, who is that? I need to get on that team. Who are they? That's where I'm going to school. And it ended up being a school that I hated, that my guidance counselor took us to every single year. And I always would say, I'm never coming to this school. Ended up going to that school and hating it. But I graduated. But I just, oh my goodness, I don't even want to get into it. But yeah, I went to that school because my dad wanted me to. And I was like, as long as I can dance, that's all that matters. I'll do whatever as long as I can dance. And that's what I did. I suffered those long 4 years. Well, I took a year off because I hated it. I took a year off, but I went back and I was like, as long as I can dance, that's what I wanted to do. And so once I graduated from college, though, I was supposed to go and get my master's in counseling. And I will never forget laying on my aunt's couch the summer that I graduated from college. And I burst out crying because I got accepted into graduate school for counseling. And I realized that I didn't want to be a counselor. I did not want to be a therapist. I had gotten into school for something that I absolutely did not want to do. I didn't want to talk to people about their problems. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to dance. I wanted to create. I wanted to do all the things that brought me fulfillment and joy, modeling, acting, all the things that I gave up to go to this school. No, I wanted to be the drama queen that y'all knew that I was. And I had to give that up. And so I was left with a lot of resentment, a lot of anger, sadness, because I'm like, who am I now? It makes me a little emotional. Who am I without this piece of my identity? I had absolutely no clue. And at that time, too, I also had just graduated from foster care. I became homeless at the age of 24, and I went and stayed with my uncle for a few months, and then I ended up getting my own place. And during that time, it was like, there is no time to stop. There's no time to dream right now. You got to figure it out. You ain't got nowhere to stay. You sleeping in your car, you staying at your friend's house, you doing all these things. You don't got time to play games. I had to get 2 jobs. I was catching a bus. My car was like, it was a whole situation. And so I had to give up my dreams. And at that point was when I stopped dreaming. And I'll never forget my dad asking me, he was like, when's the last time you wrote something? I was like, I don't write anymore. He was like, well, that makes me sad. And I was just like, at that point in time, I'm like, dude, I don't care. I got to get this money. I got to go to work. And I was working at Chipotle. That was another thing that pissed me off. I'm like, how I go to school for this degree and end up working at Chipotle? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? So I was working at Chipotle for a couple months until I got my first actual job in my field as a foster care case manager. Shout out to my former therapist. He got me the job, but I was just like, I don't want to do this. This doesn't make me happy. I'm not happy here. And so I remember being at home and I passed out. And I was just like, yeah, I gotta go. I gotta figure something out. So I packed up all of my stuff. I called my best friend. I told her what was going on. And she was like, come stay with me in Arizona. I said, all right, bet. Told my family, I'm moving to Arizona. And they were like, what? You moving to Arizona? Yep, I'm moving to Arizona. This ain't it for me here. This ain't it for me here. I dealt with a break-in in one of my apartments. I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy, and I was unfulfilled, and I was searching for something outside of me, I guess. And for a long time, I did that. And so I packed up all my shit. I gave my brother the keys to my apartment. I was like, here, you can stay here, sublease it out. I'm out. I packed up everything that I could in my car. Some of the things I still have, actually, like memorabilia, gifts, and things. And I drove 32 hours to Phoenix, Arizona from Pittsburgh, PA by myself in the middle of September during rainstorms and all. I got there thinking that it would bring me peace and it would bring me something that I was searching for, and it didn't. And I got there and I was very depressed. I fell into a very deep depression because I got there and I had a few couple weeks of money saved up. I was like, I'm out. I got there. I ain't worked for 3 weeks and I was just swimming at the pool, having a good old time. And then I was like, oh shit, life is setting back in. I gotta get a job. And I ended up getting a job at a call center. It was horrible. Oh my goodness. I ended up working at a call center temp agency, and it was just the worst. Oh my goodness. It was the worst on my mental health. But I also started dancing again. I threw my first dance event in Arizona, and only 2 people showed up, and I didn't care because I was dancing again. I was back in my groove. I found a studio where I would go and I would just dance and I would just freeform and just let it all out. Yeah, and I felt so good. No, I think 5 people showed up to my dance class. Quit playing, girl. I was so excited. And yeah, and I taught my first dance class. And I was so proud of myself. But I still was empty. And I couldn't figure out what it was. I was very unhappy there too. So I left again. I prayed about it this time though. I prayed and I was like, I really want to go to North Carolina. I don't know what it was that was pulling me to North Carolina, but I always knew that I wanted to go to North Carolina. Even before I moved to Arizona, I was applying for jobs, applying for apartments, and I couldn't get anything because I was straight out of school. That's how I even ended up going to Arizona, because I'm like, I gotta get out of here, and I can't get out. And she's like, well, come on down here. So 7 months into me living into Arizona, I got an interview here in Raleigh, North Carolina. And when I heard interview, I heard job. I was like, oh, I got an interview? I got a job. Let's go. Packed up all my stuff and drove 35 hours to Raleigh, North Carolina. I stopped in Texas and I stopped in Atlanta. And I was terrified, y'all. I was like, what if I'm making a mistake? What if I'm making a mistake? What if I'm just traveling around the world searching for something that I ain't never gonna find? And so when I got to Texas, the day that I was heading to Atlanta, I went to the gas station. And when I got to the gas station, I looked at the sky. Now, in Texas, there weren't a lot of trees. it was just like sky desert, Dallas, Texas, sky desert. And so I went in a gas station. I was like, excuse me, sir, do you know which way that storm is coming from? Because I'm trying to head to Atlanta. He was like, oh no, you can keep going. That storm is behind you now. Okay, testimony. I hear you, God. The storm is behind me. Keep going. I don't know what's on the other side of this, but keep going. I don't know what you got waiting for me over here, but keep going. So I did. I got in my car and I kept going. I drove to Atlanta and I stayed there for a day. My goddad got a new church. He had started working at a new church, so I was there for like the ceremony. It was the longest church service of my life. But I did that before I got to Raleigh, North Carolina. When I got to Raleigh, North Carolina, I was homeless again. I got here for an interview, but I ain't had nowhere to stay. I was staying. Listen, y'all, I've done some for the plot things, okay? And I had came here with the understanding that I was going to be able to stay at this guy's house because his family had a house and they weren't staying in it, and they were like, well, you can stay here. But when I got here, they had no clue that I was coming. It was just a whole mess. I'll tell that story a different day. If y'all want to hear the details about how I got to North Carolina and was homeless for 3 months, let me know. If y'all want that story time of my transition to North Carolina and moving around solo, I will definitely give y'all the tea, because that was very, very interesting. But it was all about faith. It was all about faith and trust, because my family and friends was like, girl, come home. Like, what are you doing down there? Come home. And I'm like, no, I'm supposed to be here. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know. But it all ended up working out. So again, once I got to North Carolina, I found a dance studio and I started dancing, because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to create. I wanted to dance. But I was trying to survive. I needed to find a job. I needed to find a home. I needed to figure out how I was going to eat. I don't got time to dream. What? The dream was me getting here. Girl, get your ass in a house or something. What are you doing? So, figured everything out. One of my homegirls from college ended up moving down here. We ended up moving in together. Got our apartment 3 months later. Got a full-time job. Everything was working out. That year, I wrote my first book. I published my first book of poetry that I accumulated during the time that I was in foster care. My godmom and my grandma encouraged me to put out my first book called At the Heart of a Lotus. It is available on Amazon if you like poetry. That was a very vulnerable time for me, releasing that book of poetry. But I was writing again, still trying to survive though, still trying to just make it, just trying to figure things out. I gotta turn my brain off. I can't focus on that. I can't focus on all the dreams that I have. I gotta figure out how I'm gonna make this work. So I started a blog where I could just talk about my feelings, and I did. And I was like, girl, why are you putting us on the internet? What is you doing? What is going on here? And so I stopped doing that, because it was like really, like I was really going in. Like, girl, get you a diary. Where is your journal? That's what that blog was given. So I had found a dance studio here, but I had a very, very bad experience with that dance studio and the owner. It was very traumatic for me. So I stopped dancing. And I think that was when I stopped. And one of my best friends here now, we share a love of dance. And so she would, come over and we would dance together. And we actually danced in her wedding together. But she still loves to dance. Like, she be getting it. Like, she's fulfilled in that. Like, that makes her fulfilled. And I'm just like, nah, I'm good. I'm okay. And I realized that I was doing that to myself. I've been suppressing my emotions. I've been suppressing my creativity because I've been so in my head and not present and not showing up for myself because I'm just trying to figure it out. At that point in time, I was going through a very, very traumatic time, dealing with like family stuff at home, dealing with like a very traumatic relationship here. And I was just like, yo, what is happening? What is going on? And I would dance around the house, but I couldn't write. I couldn't bring myself to really create anything. Just like, I'm just going to work. I'm just here to serve other people. And I forgot about myself for the first 4 years that I was here. I didn't really pour into my self-care because I'm here by myself. If I don't make this happen, then what happens? I'm out on my ass again. I'm homeless again. I don't want to be homeless again. I got to do everything in my power to make sure that I'm okay. And I got stuck in that mindset. I got to make sure I'm okay. I got to make sure I'm safe. I got to make sure that everything's taken care of. And so now I still operate like that. Even when my husband's like, girl, relax. You ain't got to do all of that. My mind is still in that space of before. And it took me time to connect those dots to realize that, like, girl, you're safe. You all right? You are in this home that you and your husband are building together. Like, you have a beautiful life. What is you stressed out about? But it's just something is just like, no, I can't stop. I can't give up. I can't, and I'm working on it. I've been working on it. Since I made the connection, it's just like this unsettling fear that I've held in my body because I don't want to go back to them nights where I was sleeping in the country with deers outside my car window and having to get up and work 2 jobs and shower at the gym. Like, that's not going to be my experience, obviously. But that's where my body's at. That's where my mind is at. And having to train myself to let those things go has been a process. And so when I got diagnosed with fibroids in 2020, that was coming off of the COVID pandemic situation, stress, and finally being in a space where I just moved in with my husband. He was my boyfriend at the time, but now I'm finally able to let my body just relax, or just not relax, but like allow my body to just go through what it's going through. And I remember I almost passed out like in December of 2019 when I first moved in with him, and it just felt like I'm finally okay. I'm finally in a space where I don't gotta fight no more. My body just like gave out. So it's like a part of me knew that I was good. Like I feel safe with him. I feel safe here. But something in like my nervous system and my mind is just like, no, girl, you gotta keep going. You gotta keep, So just rewiring that. And it takes time, being in survival mode for 20 years of my life. You don't change that overnight. And then I started learning about suppressed emotions. That's what it was. There is this holistic womb healing coach, Sasha Rosa. I talk about her often in my fibroid healing videos, like when I talk about my journey, like on TikTok, and then in the descriptions on my YouTube videos about Coach Sasha. I've learned so much from her, and I had bought one of her courses earlier this year, and in one of the courses she was talking about emotional healing and like suppressed emotions in the body. And this is something that I knew, but from like the books that I read and like the other holistic practitioners that I had seen, that they told me that I was dealing with like abandonment and anger and sadness and grief and all the things. And she was talking about like your lack of fulfillment, your lack of happiness, your lack of creativity, you being disconnected from your femininity. That impacts the growth of fibroids. And I'm like, I'm just here sitting on my gifts, and they just stuck inside of me, and they want to come out, and I ain't letting them out. Girl, hello. What are you scared of? And trying to figure out how I let that out. How do I? What does that even look like? I'm an adult now. I can't just go to LA and just bear it all and just try to make it work. What, girl? You is grown. You got bills. Like, you better sit your tail down somewhere. But that's when I found YouTube, and I'm like, ooh, I like this. I like being creative and doing my vlogs and stuff. And my husband was very supportive of that. He's always so supportive of all of my creative endeavors. He's like, yeah, girl, you gonna be the next and you gonna be and I'm so grateful. But yeah, I needed to learn to let go of all of the junk and negative emotions that I accumulated over the years. And I've been struggling with that. And I talked to Coach Sasha maybe a couple weeks ago, and I was showing her pictures from my youth when I believed that the fibroids started to develop. And I also told her like just about this journey and things that I'm learning, and she's just like, yeah, people get hung up on like the diet part of it, when honestly the hardest part is the mental and emotional and spiritual piece of it. And that's why I've been talking about that piece more lately on my channel, because that's really where I'm struggling. That's really where I'm struggling, the letting go of the anger and, you know, the traumatic experiences that I've had, really digging deep to remember all of the stuff that I've been through that I need to let go of. Like, there are so many things that I like haven't discussed here that I've experienced that I'm just like, I'm still mad at this person for doing this. Girl, that was literally 30 years ago. What in the world? That was literally 15 years ago. They're not thinking about you. But it's been so hard for me to just move past it and just allow my feelings to just move through. But that's a conversation for another day. As it pertains to my creativity. But even with that too, trying to survive and protect myself from the world, from people, my body is still holding on to those experiences. The body keeps the score. The body doesn't want to go back to a space where it doesn't feel safe. So it's going to continue to be in fight or flight mode so that you are always on 10, always feeling like you need to survive. Learning to just breathe and say, I'm safe, I'm good, I'm all right, body. So this year, upon learning that I've been dealing with this unfulfillment and unhappiness, I'm like, I miss doing stuff for fun. What do I want to do? Paint, draw, doing that. Skating, I was like, I tried that. Writing, I'm actually getting back into writing. I'm really excited about that. I've decided to get out of my own way and start writing again, and to just let that flow. Get in the flow. So, what am I doing next year to get out of survival mode and get into dreaming again? Or getting into pouring into my dreams. I heard a girl say, someone told her, don't die with any dreams left inside of you. And I'm like, oh, that's a good one. And so the dreams that I have are to write, to dance, to act, to do all the things. So that's what I'm fit to do. I signed up for acting classes next year, starting in February. And then I signed up for a contemporary dance class and a jazz dance class in January. And I'm also going to do a 30-day yoga challenge with Farmer Mish here on YouTube that I'm really looking forward to, because my goal is to get back into the flow of my body, get back into being a creative individual and not allowing my perceived stress to take control of my life. And when I really sat back and thought about it, like, it just be experiences with my husband. Like, one time I came home and I was just like, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, I gotta do that. And he was like, girl, go sit down. What you want me to do? Like, what you need? And I'm just like, I wish I could. And I'm just like, you are making yourself stressed out. You ain't gotta be stressed out. You can give stuff to other people. You ain't gotta carry everything by yourself. And that's a conversation for another day. And what's really been interesting to me on this journey is learning how these suppressed emotions really affect our bodies, like affect our mental health, affect our physical health. I've been having issues with my stomach lately, and I'm like tracked it back to like how long this has been happening, because I have not always had these issues, and it started in like 2022. And so I started doing some research and, listening to Coach Sasha too about where certain emotions get trapped in the body. And I was doing some digging and learned that resentment actually gets stored in the gut. What? Resentment gets stored in the gut? What do I have resentment about? I have resentment about the fact that I didn't get to go to school for dance. That I'm angry at my family for not pushing me to be the next Keke Palmer, because hello, that could have been me. Understanding that they all, my guidance counselors, my family, they all pushed me to have a career, which I'm very grateful for, because it has definitely afforded me a lot of opportunities, and I'm very grateful. And I do have the opportunity now to follow my dreams. I don't got no kids. It's just me, my husband, and my dog. And I have time. I just have to make the time. And you too. Like, if anyone is listening to this and are like, dang, I really resonate with that, just know that you got time. Even if you got kids, it's a mindset thing. Like, it's really, really a mindset thing. And I get mad when my husband or somebody else says it to me, like, you don't have to do this. And I'm like, yes, I do. And it's like, no. You can ask for help. You can make time for yourself. Because even when I went and signed up for the dance classes. I'm like, but what are we gonna eat? If I gotta be there at 8 o'clock, I gotta be here to. No, them is grown people. They can feed themselves. They can figure it out. And these are habits that I want to start developing now before I have children, because I want to be able to take that time for myself, to pour into my dreams, pour into myself. Yeah. I'm finna go to dance class. I'll see y'all when I get home. Y'all can figure it out. There's food in the fridge. There's food in the cabinet. Y'all know how to cook. We put unnecessary pressures on ourselves a lot of times, and it takes away from us pouring into our own self-care. And that's just where I'm at with it. So 2025 is going to be the year of fulfillment for me. I'm excited. I want to do more photo shoots. I haven't done a photo shoot since 2020. I want to do photo shoots. I'm going to dance again. I want to start doing, like, on my vlog channel, I want to make my vlogs more like filmmaking. That's a skill that I'm going to have to develop and learn, but that's something that I really want to do. I've always wanted to get into, like, acting and film production and stuff. Who knows what this journey is going to lead me to, but I'm so excited to figure it out. I'm so excited to see. I'm so excited to be on this journey and have the opportunity to share it as I'm on it. And I'm grateful for anyone who has opted to be on this journey with me. And I hope that through me sharing, it helps even just one person. That's all I could ask for as we journey on fully loving ourselves, you know? So I've been having a lot of, like, self-life reflections, and I'm going to continue to share more of them as we continue on with the podcast and the platform on YouTube. So if you are not yet a part of the Loved Ones community, you can definitely find the videos on Spotify, YouTube, and Substack for right now until I figure out how to get them on the other platforms, because it's a skill. This is a skill, and I'm just grateful to have the opportunity to be able to pour it out. This is another form of creativity and healing for me. I'm so glad that I started to lean into what I'm good at, which is telling stories and being vulnerable. And I've had to not be afraid of being judged and being perceived. I'm still working on it. It's the internet. But it's like, how you gonna get to Keke Palmer status if you're not ready? How you gonna get to Oprah status if you're not ready? So I'm getting ready. And thank y'all for welcoming me as I begin to share and pour out my heart. Loved Ones. So again, join the Loved Ones community here on YouTube, Spotify, and Substack. I also will be doing one newsletter a week on my Substack, A Story Life. I'm also on Threads too. Yeah, so that's all I got for you all today. I hope that my story inspired someone, and that you have a beautiful 2025, and that you lean into doing something that brings you joy and fulfillment. As always, be bold, be joyful, and always be fully loving yourself. And I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.